Yo, how's everyone in the clubhouse tonight? Hello, all you rock heads. We got a great show for you at Backtrack Cinema. Facing off Rocky 3 versus Rocky 4. It's ultimately debated a lot, which is better in that 80s era, and we're gonna settle it tonight. We're gonna settle it tonight because these two movies they're great. They're classics with the fans, and yeah, and I'm not doing this alone. I got two very great guests. My first guest is Nick from the Movie Ranker.
Hi
He's
guys.
joining us. What's up, Nick? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for the show.
Good. Absolutely. And then we got Stacy from the Rocky Files. You guys know the Rocky Files podcast. Here she is. Hey, Stacy.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, had to have the expert. Had to have the experts on here. At least the expert on Adrian.
Yes.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, this could be fun, guys. This could be a lot of fun. We're gonna go through 10 categories, and then after each category, we'll whatever movie you picked for that category will be a point, and then I'll tally up all the points from everything at the end, and we'll see who wins here. But first, let me see who's here. Austin from SPC Unleashed says, "Hey boys, I'll be honest, I've never seen any of these films. Just here to support the channel. I would suggest you get on."
Oh yeah.
Rob Kerr's here. He said this one is close call. I would say it might be, and he says, "Hey Jason, what's up, buddy?" Yeah. So I guess I'll just start with Rotten Tomato scores, guys. Not only but budget, and so let me just add this to the stream here. And so we got Rocky 3, which was released on May 28th, 1982. Made 270 million at the box office. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 65%, but the audience gives it a 74%. So, Nick, what do you think about the numbers there?
I think it's low on both accounts. I get it's number 3 coming off 1 and 2 were more character driven and like the drama side of things, where this one kind of ups the action a bit more, and it's much more 80s style, both of these movies. So I can kind of understand the critics being a little lower, but I still think it's a better time than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Stacy, what do you think about the Rotten Tomato scores on Rocky 3?
Rotten Tomato, they're always harsher on. They're so hard on these movies, and the audience, I think the general public is just easier pleased. It doesn't have to be super overly dynamic for them to be happy with it. So I find Rotten Tomatoes a little mean.
I think it's very mean on this movie, considering how many character moments happen, and it has arcs that are completed. It has a good story, that I think any athlete who's gotten complacent could relate to. This is what this shocks me. Like, if I was a professional athlete, I think this would be a movie that it'd be a reminder what not to be like.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's very unfair. Then we got Rocky 4, November 27th, 1985, 300 million, the worldwide box office, 38% in the critics, 80% audience. Nick, that's a device. Clearly the fans love this, but the critics didn't.
Right. Yeah, the critics are very harsh on this one. It has its problems, but it's definitely not 38%. That's crazy. But yeah, it's a fan favorite to a lot of people, so I'm not surprised at the higher audience score here.
We hear a lot, for a lot of our audience, Rocky 4 was the first one they saw, so that it's really near and dear to their heart because it's just the first experience they had in the theater. At least people around in my age group, late 30s, 30s, I wish, late 40s, early 50s. But 38%, yeah, that's when, I don't know if Hollywood has a vendetta against Stallone, but Stallone isn't 38% to anything. So where they come up with that?
That's a dumpster fire. That to me would say that's a dumpster fire. Now, these were my two favorite Rocky movies. Well, the ones I watched the most as a kid, 3 and 4. Right. And Rocky 4, I mean, I just watching it on VHS, first time my dad's like, "What's wrong?" I go, they just killed Apollo.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
it shocked me. I don't know if it
Mhm.
was a huge shock for everyone back then, but as a kid,
Mhm.
shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Austin's is totally the opposite of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so those are basically the numbers, and I
Mhm.
to add though, like Rocky 3 and Rock and First Blood, he did very close. In
Mhm.
fact,
Mhm.
he was organizing and prepping Rocky 3, and then he did First Blood, a grueling schedule, what he did in First Blood physically, and then he goes and directs Rocky 3. I mean, like he
Yeah.
was the man in the 80s. Like I tell that to a lot of young people, like you don't realize how big the guy was
Yeah.
Mhm.
and the money he made for Hollywood. Look at this. This is money he made for
Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty
Mhm.
crazy. So all right, let's get on to our first category here. The title opener, so meaning just the title scroll.
Yeah.
Rocky is famous for its title scroll. I mean, I was
Mhm.
mesmerized as a kid. So Nick, who do you think who does it better for you? The Rocky
Hmm.
3 scroll or the Rocky 4 with the gloves punching?
This one was kind of tough too because I like both, but I had to go with Rocky 4. I just think that having the two gloves, the American glove and the Russian glove, come up and then kind of explode against each other, it just really foreshadows what's gonna
Yeah.
happen, right? And it just makes an epic feeling. The other one's a little more basic, but I do like how it shows the heavyweight belt, just to show where he's at
Yes.
that time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I have to go Rocky 4 on this one.
Yeah.
Uh,
I sorry.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rocky 3. This is hard because as you hear all the time, people say picking your favorites among these things is like picking a favorite child because there's nothing I dislike, but I think both the openers are just different in that Rocky 3, the big yellow block letters against the heavyweight championship belt is just a representation of everything he's accomplished up until this point. And
Mhm.
so to me, it's like a statement of where he is. And that's why I love Rocky 3 because it sort of captures everything he's accomplished. And then the Rocky 4 one, I love as well, but it's more foreboding. So it
Mhm.
makes me nervous, especially considering the time and what was going on in the
Right.
world. You know, it's like you dared to talk about a Russia USA relationship during that time. Are you trying to get us bombed? I mean, you know, it was a very touchy subject if you were living through those years. And I think both of you are younger than me. So I remember it being a little tense. Like he
Mhm.
did what? He he's having a fight in Russia during this time in history. So I lean Rocky 3 for the opener.
Me too. Um, I got Rocky 3 as well. A lot of it has to do with the music, though.
Mhm.
I love Eye of the Tiger, but
Mhm.
you can't beat that original music. And I just
Mhm.
seen that championship belt, and
Yeah.
it, you're right. It's like, okay, he's the champ now, so what's this going to be? And the big
Mhm.
Rocky 3 goes across. This always like the look of this belt.
Yeah.
It's one of my most
Mhm.
prized things I want to get is the
Mhm.
replica belt.
Mhm.
It's hard to find now unless you want to pay
Mhm.
a lot. But I mean, I'd love to have it hanging in behind one day. But
Right.
yeah, so we got 2 out of 3 for Rocky 3,
Mhm.
everyone. And after every category, I'll address the chat so they don't fall too behind on us here. And Rob Kerr says 3.
3. Yeah.
Michael, is it Tossed? Tossed, hey? Tossed? I'm
Mhm.
sorry if I'm butchering your name, buddy, but Rocky 3, yellow letters over the belt. And
Yep.
Jeff's here, really good follower of the
Yay.
channel. Hey, Jeff, huge Stallone fan. Said, hey, everyone.
Nice.
Yeah, see, as
Um,
simple as that category was, it was still super tough.
yeah, because those
Yeah,
gloves punching is pretty awesome with the big
yeah.
explosion. And
I did have trouble choosing.
yeah, and we are going with the theatrical edition of Rocky 4 because he changed that,
Yeah.
I believe, in
Right.
the
Mhm.
new cut.
Mhm.
So, all right, next one. The plot. This should be interesting. The plot. Now, your basic story, we got Rocky 3, fall from
Mhm.
grace kind of story, climbing his
Mhm.
way back. Rocky 4. A lot of people say it's revenge. I don't really look at Rocky getting revenge in this. I find it's
Mhm.
more of um making sure Apollo's legacy
Yeah.
is intact and he didn't die for nothing kind of thing. I think there's a little bit of revenge in there, but we'll discuss it. But plot, Nick, who do you? What's the better story here?
For me personally, I like Rocky 3 story a lot better. Sorry, Rocky 3. Just how it starts, him at the peak of his fame, and he could retire peacefully, but then he ends up wanting to do this one last challenge because this guy is kind of getting to him, right? And just him not listening to the advice from Mickey and getting Mickey to follow him one more time, and everything that leads to him losing the first fight, losing his mentor, and having to start over, like you said. And he has to basically train like a new boxer. I love that. And he forms that bond with Apollo that we never really got to see before. And yeah, it's just great. I love the story to this one.
Yeah, for me, it's Rocky 3 as well. I loved the inside work, the personal growth that he had to go through, because Rocky certainly isn't used to having to admit he's scared. He's like, I'm not scared. I'm not the guy who gets scared. And he had to say that to Adrian on the beach, which is one of my favorite scenes of all time right there. I love Rocky 4 as well, his relationship with Apollo and then losing someone again. I sometimes wonder if him fighting Drago, was about just making so much of what went wrong right. He didn't have to fight Clubber, but he did. And then did that lead to the stress of Mickey dying? And then he didn't throw the towel soon enough. Does he carry all this guilt with him? So I agree with you, Jason, that it's not necessarily revenge. He's just trying to make right out of two very wrong things. But as far as Rocky 3 is concerned, I think it's more inside work. And just the way he had to trust somebody new, he had to train completely differently. And then just to watch his feet go from in the cement, you know what I'm saying? Such a heavy fighter. And then he was light and he was up on his toes and he was moving fast and he was transformed, and he really needed someone to carry him. And he had to allow somebody to do that. And Apollo did that in Rocky 3. And those are things that Rocky didn't lean on other people, and he needed to lean on Apollo to get him through that really dark time. So I love that. You're going to notice that I lean Rocky 3 for most things. There's going to be a trend.
I just want to add that beach scene is amazing with Rocky and Adrian. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I often wonder if here I go having a brain thought now, a brain fart myself. I often wonder if it was if you could look back at Rocky 4. I wish we could have saw a couple fights quick of seeing how the growth of Rocky as a fighter in the beginning of Rocky 4. Because it feels like, okay, he beat Clubber, but can he continue this? And I think a couple of, where he knocked people out in the first round would have been just seeing that hit his growth. But I got Rocky 3 as too. I love this movie. I love this story. This story is how do you take the character from winning the belt and going forward with that? Well, Stallone says, well, let's have him fall from grace. Let's have him going, he's relying on Mickey too much. He's not thinking for himself. He's and his character in Rocky 4, he doesn't even need a manager at that point. Yeah. He's just so well put together. And it's everything he's learned and these trials he's gone through. Like Stacy said, this beach scene is pretty much everything. It has everything in there. Like, the man is not afraid of getting beat up. That's not what it's about. He's and this is consistent with this character. He's always been afraid of going back and not being remembered. Ever since he took that first fight with Apollo, ever since then, in Rocky 2, he's telling Adrian, I don't want you to get to go through life the hard way. I don't, people are calling me a loser. I'm being called a bum again. And that's what he's afraid of. That's the real, and she sees through that. She completely sees that. She, you know what I mean? That's why she pulls it out of him. But it just, how, he's very naive, and Mickey's tried to tell him, he carried him because he thought, you took a lot of punishment, and I just can't go. Mickey can't go through that again. He's
right.
And I've often wondered if Adrian was in on all this too. Like if Mickey and her had a conversation that we never saw, because I'm almost leaning towards because the way she's talking to him on the beach, it's like she knew something,
Right.
or maybe it was just her how intuitive she really was. Um,
That's a great point. Mm.
right, and Rocky is just you don't get a better plot than this as far as,
Mhm.
especially like I said, if you're an athlete. How many
Mhm.
athletes you see? They weren't once they. I don't know if they've been carried, but
They lose that hunger, like
they use
that
that
Yeah.
spark.
hunger, and when his bubbles popped, thinking they were what they were setups, they were like what? No, they were good fighters. This everyone I knew you could beat.
Right. Right.
That's
Mhm.
that's more horrible than getting a setup in a lot of ways.
I think your point about Mickey handpicking some of them as a break for himself, I've actually thought that thought,
Mhm.
because he watched Rocky suffer so badly. It's a break for Adrian from watching her husband be pummeled,
Mhm.
and for Mickey having to worry about it. But I also love the lyric, exchange your passion for glory. And
Yeah,
that is kind of what he was going through. You get complacent when you're just winning, 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 winning.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, you know, somebody knocks you on your butt. And it's like, talk about a wake up call. And yeah, I think he really had to sort of get back in the saddle and get back to real training, a real fighter. And I think, is it David Goggin or Goggin? He's always talking about how there's always somebody out there training harder than you. And in
yeah.
this example, Clubber was training harder than him,
Mhm.
and he had to catch up to
Yeah,
that. So,
Well, he
yeah.
was taking kisses and everything. He was too into the
Right.
fame.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
He got
Exactly.
he gets
He
he's
lost
still
himself.
Rocky. He lost himself, but it's something you don't see happen too. I think it's
Mhm.
Mhm.
very easy to get lost in that,
Right.
and something that he was never about. He never liked fighting.
Mhm.
It was never about. He never really. And this it's not till number two where he's kind of like, this is all I know. And by
Yeah.
Rocky 3, it's more like he's sucked into all this
Mhm.
stuff that he's ever wanted, and it just
Mhm.
crashes down on him. Like he just doesn't know what to do with himself when he's like that beach scene. Like he's like, I just
Mhm.
love it when he's this like, um, how did everything so good get so bad?
Right.
Like
Mhm.
he's just pouring his heart out to her. And yeah, and they have a great, and even when Mickey tells him, he's not believing it. He doesn't believe
Mhm.
it. He's like, this guy will knock you into the moral. You're freaking crazy. And yeah, it's fantastic. For me too, the plot for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Um Acting, and I mean overall acting here of both movies, from everybody really, like the whole package here. So Nick, what do you got for acting?
This was the toughest category for me because I feel like Rocky's pretty consistent throughout the whole series, like,
Mhm.
with its characters, with the acting. Like, there may be one or two things here or there, but for the most part, it's fairly consistent. So I had to really look at more of the negatives instead of the positives. And to me, I had to go Rocky 4 on this one because I think Clubber Lang's performance is a little over the top and a little outdated, especially nowadays, I think. Uh,
I pity you.
where yeah, where, yeah, he was kind of the only weak spot for me, really. The core characters are all great. Adrian, Rocky, Polly, all of them, Mickey, Apollo. I feel like they're all fairly good all the time. They're really consistent. So this one was really hard for me. That's basically why I chose Rocky 4, basically because of Clubber Lang, because I think everybody else is great.
It's funny. Clubber Lang is my favorite villain. I love
He was always mine too, like
Yeah.
when I was younger, but I don't know, this made me see him differently.
Yeah, that scene, where he's at the statue, and that's so
Yeah,
visceral. I don't know. That feels very real to me. But I see what you're saying. I don't know if it has to do with watching it, being a younger person, watching it later, or
right.
living through it when it's happening, you know, during a time or a style of acting
Mhm.
was what you saw everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's why it seems like it fits. because as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting point. But I lean Rocky 3 because I feel like while Rocky 4 has many pockets of really great, sincere, believable moments, but not every moment is believable, where I feel there's more consistency of a believable story with Rocky 3. And again, I always go back to the personal growth that Rocky had to go through himself, but I also think Stallone had to go through. And there are times when I'm watching Rocky 3 that I feel like, you know what, Stallone is probably going through some of these same things, or had gone through some of these same things as he
Right.
grew with fame. So part of the time I'm like, is he acting right here? So it felt, I don't know, it seemed just slightly more personal to him watching him. And I know we said not just the Stallone character, but Adrian, I mean, Adrian went toe to toe with him on that beach. She was like 110% in the ring, if you will, with him in that moment. And that was very believable. But I also experienced Rocky 3 after my own personal experience of losing my aunt. So I was 9 and 82. My aunt had just died very unexpectedly. And then and we'll be getting to the most impactful death, which you can guess what my answer is going to be when Mickey died, right alongside my aunt dying. That moment is so, it like still fills me up in my throat. So at least, am I leaning Rocky 3? Maybe because of my own personal experience, but everything about it just felt realer, more plausible. So I lean Rocky 3 for the acting.
So true what you said
Um,
about the mirroring Stallone's life, like mirroring with the
Yeah.
fame. Yeah, it's true.
yeah, the whole series is like that.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about it. It's such a relatable character because you've seen him grow from
Mhm.
30 to an old man. I
Yeah.
mean, that doesn't happen too often. And
Yeah.
I'm Rocky 3 too. For the Mickey scene when Mickey dies, you're not gonna find, and I really feel like that he did First Blood too, and one of the best performances where he breaks down. He was really tapping into a lot of emotion that year,
Mhm.
and Stallone was, and just crying's messy like that.
Yeah.
It's not fun to look at, and even Paulie was shedding a tear when this happens, and when Mickey says, "I love you, kid," and then he just goes, like, he just doesn't believe it at first. He's like, "Mick, Mick,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just like you can't even make out the words he's saying. If there's more you want to do, let's do it, let's do it. And he's
Mhm.
just like he's just wanting this man to come back so badly, and he's been torn down. And that's one of the reasons. And Adrian Talia-Shire's performance is greatness. It's not just the beach scene; it's the way she's looking.
Mhm.
She sees what's happening to him,
Yeah.
and I like all the looks she gives him. Um, I love that moment where Stallone is like, she's saying, "We never had a honeymoon," and he's
I
off
know.
being, and he looks at himself in the mirror, right? He's
Yeah.
having those flashbacks. That was really good too. And Rocky 4, I feels a little more like Stallone than he is Rocky.
Mhm.
He's very, very almost too intelligent for the character. Like
Mhm.
he's lost that he I don't want to say he's out of character, but I feel like Rocky 3, it feels more like Rocky than Rocky 4 does.
Mhm.
Um for me, and that has a lot to do with acting. Maybe because he was wearing two hats
Yeah.
with the director,
Yeah.
and it wasn't couldn't really dial in that performance, or like I said, he's so much well put together, so maybe maybe he learned to read better, maybe but that none of that was really explained though. So
Yeah.
for me, it feels more like Stallone is
Yeah.
playing Rocky than where Rocky 3, that's Rocky, that's still
Yeah.
Rocky, he's still kind of acting the same way. So that's why I go Rocky 3. I just feel
Mm.
there's a lot more reality in the performances that actors give you reality, and that's what I feel like Rocky 3 did better
Right.
for me personally.
It's funny, I love your point about it felt more Stallone than it did Rocky. And the one moment in all of Rocky 4 that I'm like, "Okay, that was Stallone, that was not Rocky at all," was when, Apollo's out there and all the dancing girls come out, and there's this one scene where he's, like, checking out all the ladies. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Rocky would not do that."
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's just it's kind of like Rocky 5. One of
Mhm.
a little problem I have with it is I felt like Stallone was impersonating Rocky
Yeah, I hear that
at
a lot.
times.
Mhm.
At times, like he would go, antlers, look who's here. It just sounds like he's not dialed in like he was in Rocky 1. Then now
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa, he dialed right back in again. Like
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
All right. Rob Kerr, 3, because Rocky had to get the eye of the tiger back.
Mhm. Mhm.
Jamie Hart. Hey, Jamie, how you doing? She says, Rocky 3 is my personal favorite of the series. That's awesome. I
Yep.
like hearing stuff like that.
Yep.
And Jeff says Rocky 3 is just the better film overall, and I love
Mhm.
Rocky 4.
Right. That's what's hard
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
It's really hard. Yep. But yeah, and you know what? I'll defend Mr. T. I still think it's a great villain, a great little piece of acting because it was his first movie.
Yeah.
And if you met Mr. T in real life, I haven't, but I have seen enough. He's the nicest guy you've ever wanted
Yes.
to meet. So I just think, yeah, that is acting. I mean, he's playing a character he probably knows how to play, but he could be menacing, man. I mean, he insulted Adrian without even thinking about it. Like,
Right.
Yep.
Right.
funny guy. We'll get to him again, though. I'm sure.
Mhm.
Music. Now, I'm not talking. I'm talking about you can add the. We're gonna have a song battle too, but the overall scores of both of these, including the songs, like the whole package. Nick, Rocky 3, Rocky 4.
Man, I find the Rocky 4, the whole movie has such good music in it. I don't know, it gets me pumped. Especially the war song at the end fight,
Yeah.
the war score, I love that. And the score that's in like one of the middle like montage right before you get the
Hearts on Fire,
Hearts
the
on
running
Fire.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah.
one right
Dun, dun,
before
dun,
that.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, the one right before that with the synths and the drums and that. It's really good. Plus the songs. Living in America, it's like the perfect song for how Apollo comes out super patriotic.
Yeah.
No Easy Way Out. There's so many good songs in here, man. Survivor's Back with Burning
Mhm.
Heart. Yeah. I the whole soundtrack is amazing with the scores included.
Mhm.
So you're going Rocky 4.
Yeah, I gotta go Rocky 4 on this one.
Ah, this is a hard one. There's two ways to answer it because all the classical Bill Conti music, when they did the training scene with Gonna Fly Now, just that version of Gonna Fly Now and how they did that training scene, I just loved. Eye of the Tiger, are you kidding? That's timeless. That's
Mm-hmm.
such a staple for every sporting event. It's just it turned the entire sporting industry, Super Bowl, whatever is always playing. But I think more universally, and I know I hear this when we have our guests on, especially people who really want to hit fitness goals, they are forever saying Rocky 4. They've turned on the Rocky 4 music and they are running and they are lifting and they're going. And I think in terms of motivational and you can do it, and I think Rocky 4 soundtrack definitely gets people moving and pumped. And I think that's the advantage Rocky 4 has. But the emotional history connected to Bill Conti, that's a tough one. I'll say Rocky 4 because I'll give one to Rocky 4. But yeah, it's just more a universal around the world. Just for that reason, I'll say it's more impactful. Mhm.
Not me. I'm going Rocky 3.
Mhm.
Because what Stacy said, there's that scene where listen, the music in a movie is the heart, and
Yeah.
it's got to draw your emotion. And when he's staring at the statue and he throws that helmet and the build up
Yes.
and and then the music's coming where he goes into Mickey's gym, that classic Bill Conti, dun, 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 dun. You can't beat it. And I'm actually one of these people who loves some of the other songs, like
Right.
the Take You Back and the Pushing, Getting Ready for the
Yeah.
I just love this music. I love these songs in this, and Eye of the Tiger just is
Yeah.
so iconic. It's
Yeah.
so iconic, and it's gonna go on forever. You see it in sporting events and bars, and still everyone loves this song. Rocky 4 is the whole movie plays out like a big giant music video.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's got great music. Don't get me wrong. I love Hearts on Fire. I love, Burning Heart's a really good track too.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
but it's just the director's cut. He brought back the Bill Conti
Yes. Mhm.
which really added it to me for me, but a lot of that stuff wasn't in there originally.
Right.
And I'm opposite you guys. I'm not big on that end score with the Drago Rocky fight. I think
Mhm.
I was actually hoping he was going to rescore it.
Hmm.
But obviously you can't because it's gotta go to the music.
Right.
So but I've never been big on but I get it. It's almost got a Russian feel, spectacular feel to it. But I would have been happy with just the classic, conquest kind of thing during that. And so that's why I got to go Rocky 3 essentially for me.
Fair.
Jamie says I actually saw Rocky 3 in the theater. Oh, I wish. I wish they'd re-release it in the theater.
Yeah.
When it came out. Great family memory, so it's always stuck with
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
Rob Kerr says Rocky 4.
Mhm.
Jeff says the Rocky 4 soundtrack is one of the best ever. Yep, I have them all on vinyl. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and Rocky 4. I got the first 4. Jamie says Eye of the Tiger was not just a hit, it was a phenomenon. Good point.
Yes.
Right.
100%. Yes.
I still got my it's in the back here. That's my mom's Rocky record from
Nice.
a long time ago, and it says 50 cents on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I can remember my mom playing the Rocky 3 soundtrack too. So I kind of a memory. I can remember that record in her record box, and where he's sitting there with his shirt off with the belt on and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got oh yeah, I'm going Rocky 3. I've got to write this down or I'll forget.
Yeah, I still have my original Rocky 4. Where do I have it over there? Yep.
All right, next. Okay, so Eye of the Tiger versus Hearts on Fire. Easily Eye of the Tiger for me. I got to go Rocky 3 here. It's a better song to me. I think it's just a better song to listen to. And I love Hearts on Fire.
Right.
Hearts on Fire is it really reminds me of well, they both remind me of a Rocky movie. But I can it's just going just listening to a rock song, I'd still put on Eye of the Tiger before Hearts on Fire.
Yeah. It's so iconic. My God, they're going to be playing that 100 years from now when we're all long gone. I mean, it's just that one is absolutely never going to die. When you brought up this category, I wasn't sure if you meant just the song itself or the training montages that went along with
No, this is just a song battle. This one, just song,
okay.
song against song.
Eye of the Tiger for me.
And yeah, easily Eye of the Tiger for me too. The song just never gets old. I heard it a million times and I can still enjoy it every time I hear it. It's perfect for getting you pumped, getting you motivated. And it goes along with the movie so well too, right?
Right.
Hard to believe it was going to be Another One Bites the Dust.
I heard that. I'm like,
did you imagine?
I think I've seen somebody put Another One Bites the Dust to that footage, and no, it does not.
And I think You're the
all.
Best. I think You're the Best by the Karate Kid was supposed to be, You're the best. Then that may have worked.
That's
but
like
I
the
just
most
can't imagine.
used.
I can't imagine anything in there.
Yeah.
Gotta say hello to Nick Chang. How you doing, buddy? Great follower of the channel. Eye of the Tiger was the song of the year in '82.
Oh yeah.
I can remember the Survivor tape on my mom's side table in her bedroom, seeing the Survivor tape. So
It's the only song that's as iconic as the Rocky theme itself, I'd say.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True.
John Hefner's here. He says, "Hey, buddy, how you doing? Welcome to the show." He says, "I have to pick. Had to pick Eye of the Tiger for sure.
Tiger,
Yeah, I
for sure.
believe most people would.
Mm.
All right, all right. Let's get into some serious action here.
Uh-oh.
Nick, you're first, buddy. Mickey's death or Apollo's death?
You know what? Watching these movies multiple times, Mickey's death always hit me way harder. I don't know if it was due to the circumstances and the terms that him and Rocky were on at the time, how, he didn't really want to do this last fight, and how he was ready for retirement. He kind of wanted Rocky to do so as well, because, it was a lot of pressure on him, like you guys are saying, and his family and everybody, right? So with everything hanging on there, and then Rocky losing, and that's basically lying to Mickey, the last thing he says to him, and then he dies. It just hits so hard. I don't know. It's just one of the best emotional scenes in the franchise for me. So I easily have to pick Mickey.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with everything that you said. And not to say Apollo's death wasn't impactful, because it certainly was.
Yeah.
It's funny, Jason, you said that you were surprised by it. I was surprised by Mickey's death. Like I walked into Rocky not even realizing, I mean, I was 9, right? So I had no idea the emotional roller coaster that it was. And you understand it differently as a child than you do as an adult. So it changes as you watch it over the years. But Apollo's death, I'm having a hard time explaining myself, but Mickey is definitely more impactful for him, because that's all he ever knew, in the way he trained. And he was a decision maker for Rocky in a million ways. And then that's just gone. And it kills him. He dies a little bit on the inside, and he has to get by that. And that when Apollo comes in to pull him through that, that's why I love Apollo. But I could talk on this one forever. It's also personal, like I said, because of the timing with that death in our family. It hit me because of that as well. So it knocked me on my butt, needless to say. So that's my pick.
Yeah, I for me, it's Mickey's death, because it's
Mhm.
more emotional. Apollo's death is, but it was more shocking. It's
Yeah.
more and I think there's this foreboding tension, because he's acting like he did in Rocky 1. He's not taking nothing serious. You're thinking to yourself, he's gonna get it, man. He's
Yeah.
gonna get it. And I like, I mean, you see the wife's reaction in Apollo's death, or it's Duke's reaction when he goes, "Throw the damn towel," and they do that
Yeah.
slow-mo. That's the
Ugh.
fear on that man's face. He knows what's coming.
Yeah.
He knows that he's been in the game long enough to see what's about to happen, I think. But Mickey's just, it's so much more earned, because we had 2 previous movies
Right.
where you saw this relationship build, where I guess if you would have had another movie before Apollo died, maybe we'd have more of an argument here. I think. Maybe if the relationship was, and Stallone has said that, I believe that he regrets killing Apollo. He thinks he
Yeah.
should have maimed him. And
do
seen
that.
that would have took a completely different trajectory in this series. It would have been completely different, I think, what ended up happening. But yeah, I mean, Apollo's death is crushing. It really is. And I do like what he did with the director's cut, because I think Apollo went out way too easy in this
Yeah.
theatrical version. But there's a moment where he starts fighting back. He's putting it together, but he just wasn't trained enough. He just didn't.
Right.
But it's a really good moment. You see a glimpse of, wow, this guy in his prime was the best. Was the best,
Yeah.
and seeing like a champion get laid out, getting killed like that. I guess it's just more shocking to me. There is a lot of emotion to it, but Mickey's it rips your heart out. It's one of the. It's I'm not a crier, but there's probably a handful of movies that tear me up on the inside, where I'm almost flooding. It's almost Niagara Falls, and this is one of them.
I think the difference between Mickey and Apollo's death is, Apollo's death is coming. Like, you know it, you just know somehow. And I knew before going in the theater, just because everybody at school was talking about it. And I was still so mad about Mickey's death from Rocky 3. I was like, I'm never going to see another Rocky movie again. Traumatized. So then when everyone's talking about it at school, and then Apollo died, I was like, what? Apollo died? I was flipping out because I'm like, why is he killing all of his dearest people in his family? But at least from, a writer's standpoint. But
he does it never. He does it. He kills main characters off. Like Rocky. That's one thing about Rocky Balboa. I wish we would have endured that pain of seeing Adrian go out, because we we saw Mickey go out. We saw Apollo go out. If anyone earned it, it's her. I just wish we got saw that story,
that journey.
So Stacy, get your bloody script filmed. Those of you don't know, Stacy wrote a great script about Adrian. That it would bring you to tears. It's amazing.
Thank you.
I don't got that video that we talked about that in the old channel anymore, so I'm just plugging that in for you. But I wish we got endured that pain. We should have been on that journey with Rocky. That's one thing I just wish, even if a little flashback would have been nice. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, it's Mickey's death's just so emotional.
It's like you lose a part of Rocky when you lose Mickey,
Yeah, he lost a big part of himself. That's what it was so hard for him to climb back.
Right.
I often wonder if it was just the loss of Adrian might be just a little bit too sacred of territory to even write, but that's, you're right, and I appreciate you saying it. That was the journey I wrote, is watching him lose her and then how he moved on. So who knows if that could ever be possible, but it would be. I think the audience would love to sort of be dragged through that trauma to fill in.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah,
I love stuff like that. It's I mean, that one of the scenes I love in Forrest Gump is when Tom Hanks is talking at her tombstone. I love it. It's another scene that almost tears me right up. It's because you've been with them through this whole thing, and Adrian is so important. I just don't. I could never understand. Maybe, and I believe she wanted to be in the movie. Like, I don't think it had. I think he could have got her, but even a flashback would have, or something like. But yeah, like I had the privilege of reading Stacy's script, and man, it's good stuff in there.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you mentioning it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we got to plug it. We're all Rocky, but yeah.
Mickey's death also reminds me. I don't know. Do you remember The Champ? Did you see The Champ with Ricky Schroeder years?
No, I didn't.
The Champ was in '79, and he was the son of a boxer, and the scenes are similar. And that's what earned Ricky Schroeder his Oscar from all those years ago, because his scene when his father died is gut-wrenching, and it has that same exactly same feel.
Davey says Mickey's death broke me. Oh yeah. I couldn't imagine. See, this movie has been part of my DNA for so long. I don't remember watching it for the first time. It's just, it was always on.
Yeah.
Bees and farming, Mickey all day. Jeff says Mickey's death, he was basically murdered by Clubber Lang. It was more tragic. Paula kind of asked for what he got.
He's right.
Jeff is very blunt.
Yeah, but he's right.
Yeah,
he's right. John says Mickey all day, but I hate when Apollo dies too.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Champ, but Jamie says it's fantastic.
It's a.
Jeff says Clubber Lang is easily the best villain in the franchise. All right, Nicky, you talked about Clubber. And I'm gonna go last on this because I got some things to say about Clubber, but go ahead.
Well, funny enough, like I said, growing up, Clubber Lang was my number one villain in the franchise. He's just so mean and like loudmouth bully. He's downright evil at times. But he's fairly one-dimensional. Like we don't get backstory on him. We don't really get what motivates him. He just wants to show that he's the best, and he's real nasty about it.
Hold on, did you play Rocky Legends on Xbox?
No, I did not.
So they give a back. Stallone wrote the backstories, I believe,
Okay.
for this game. I think. Don't quote me on that. But he was in prison, Mr. T, or Clever Lang,
Okay.
and he gets out of prison. But he pretty much beat up everybody in prison, and he's in these things. So he goes, "I'm gonna be a champion of the world now. I'm gonna take on all this kind of stuff." So that's what I think of, kind of, because I played the game so much of his backstory.
Okay.
But go ahead. Sorry, I thought you may want to have that little bit of information.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I just find I'm gonna go with Rocky 4. I just find Drago is just a little bit more of an interesting character when you break it down, with him having to fight like for his country, like basically to prove, um, and the whole situation with the U.S. and Russia at the time, like you were mentioning earlier. And yeah, he just has a lot more on his shoulders. And he's like treated like an animal, almost like a machine,
Yes.
like the way they're doing the tests on him and injecting him with God knows what. And yeah, he's just lethal. And he has more skill, I'd say, than Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang was all power, where he didn't really like defend himself a whole lot. And I don't know, he's all around better fighter, I think, Drago, and a more interesting villain. Even though I still think they could have done more with the character, like fleshing him out a bit more, but
Yeah.
Well, they did a great job on him in Creed 2. He's
right,
the best
right.
part of that movie.
Exactly.
I think Victor and Drago are the best part of that movie. Or at least it was more interesting.
Yeah.
And like I would be fine with the spin-off of those two.
You get to see a little bit more where he was coming from.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, I agree. But yeah,
and-
I don't know. He's just this giant. That's so I don't know. I have to choose him. He's very iconic too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because Ivan Drago changed for me after the director's cut, because to me Drago was just a robot, for the country of Russia to, make them proud, and you didn't even, it's like, is there a soul in there, at least from the original? And then you got more of a sense of who he was on the inside, and he was struggling. So I ended up liking Ivan Drago a little bit better in terms of relating to him as a human being. He didn't feel like a human being part of that.
He's being like
I
puppeted.
do. Yes, very, very. But Clubber Lang, I will pick. He is my favorite villain. He really stoked something. It's the first time Rocky was afraid of something. And then sometimes in Rocky 3, I'm thinking, who's the villain? Is it Clubber Lang that's a villain? Or is Rocky his own villain because he's fearing the outcome, because he has to find a way over the mountain of fear? And that is sort of his villain as well. And so Clubber Lang's character puts him there, positions him there, because he got knocked on his butt after winning and winning and winning and winning. And he realized, I'm not as good as I thought. That's the way Clubber Lang's character positions him there, is why I love Clubber Lang, because it makes Rocky have to do things differently. I don't know if that's a fair answer, but
yeah,
that's my
answer. Clubber for me too. I love Mr. T, and I love this villain. I'll tell you why in a minute, but he's very much reminds me of when Mike Tyson came on the scene. Like, people were terrified, terrified of this guy. Back when Mike Tyson was actually managed by Gus D'Amato, and he wasn't this. He was actually, he was sweet at times. Actually, he was like, but when he got into that ring, he was a killer, killing guys. And this is kind of and this is and this is what Clubber is to me. Smack talking is part of boxing. Muhammad Ali went to a fighter's house and started going, "I'll fight you right now." Like, this is not new. This concept. And so when he calls Rocky out, telling him the truth, I'm ranked number one. That means I'm the best. He's this killing guys. He's smack talking. He goes, "Hey, babe, how would you like to be with a real man?" And that broke.
That was it.
That was like, you disrespected Adrian. That was it. and just he's it's so many one-liners with this guy. But the biggest reason I got him is because nobody broke Rocky more. This is a guy that broke him physically,
Mhm.
emotionally, and
Mhm.
spiritually all at once.
Yeah.
And this is why he's the greatest Rocky villain.
Yeah.
And I think he's this clouded. He's remembered as being over the top. It's dated. It's cheesy. But people don't realize. Look what he did to Rocky. Nobody's ever done that to him.
Mhm.
Nobody's ever done that to him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, even Drago, taking out Apollo. It was. I guess there was more fear with Drago. Like Rocky obviously was, scared to fight this guy, but he wasn't as broken. Actually,
Mhm.
the way he beats Drago is because he's so put together and stuff like that, like all that stuff that goes along with that. And but not what Clover Lang just destroyed the man,
Yeah.
just destroyed the man. And
Mhm.
it took a past champion to bring him back. And I love this. I could watch this. This is one of my favorite villains of all time. I just
Yeah.
love watching this character. It's too bad we never got more depth to him because I think there's potential. I've always wanted to see like what happened to Clever Lang.
Yep.
Like did he just become this bum and never saw again, or is there a story there that they could tell?
Mhm.
Even if it was with a novel or something or something, you know what I mean? I think
Right.
there's a lot there. There's actually a series of movies called the Undisputed series, and where they take it's a more it's like prison fighting, like MMA.
Mhm.
And the guy who's the villain is very much like a Clever Lang. And in 3, it's about him. It's called Boyka, Redemption. He's still the
Hmm.
smack talking kind of guy, but he redeems himself. And I go, that would be a great thing for Clever Lang to be completely forgotten about, but he's still like he ends up coming back
Mhm.
and being a good fighter or doing what he does, but maybe just having a little bit more, I don't know, like his ego gets buried a bit.
Right. Right.
But I think he's a great villain personally.
Maybe
So
in
yeah.
Rocky X.
Rocky X.
Yeah.
Funny, Jason,
So
it's funny what you said about um Mike Tyson, because my husband and I have talked about this, and Buster Douglas was the one who broke Mike Tyson. Like Mike Tyson was never the fighter again after
yeah.
Buster Douglas. And so my husband's always said that Clever Lang was Rocky's um, Buster Douglas.
Yeah, and the same thing. Mike Tyson didn't train. He took the fight lightly.
Mhm.
It was the
Mhm.
same. It was you see that's what I mean. You see it in athletes all the time.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
Mhm.
I love Jeff. Clever wanted to show Adrian a real man. Sorry. Michael says Clever Lang's the Darth Vader of boxing. Mike Tyson before Tyson. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Jamie says Clever Lang. His name alone invokes images of a effing kitchen or kicking an
Eh,
ass kicking. Sorry,
ask again.
images of
That's a
Clever
kitchen.
Lang. Um, Clever gonna club you to death. Yeah. Michael says Clever's the only person who ever really beat Rocky when Rocky is running on the beach and Clever in his head. True
Yeah.
sports psychology take. Rocky was
Mm,
afraid and weighed down by guilt. Yeah,
yeah.
he truly was. He was afraid, man. All great points and categories. Great show. Thanks, Rob. I thought you guys would like this. I thought this would be a fun one. Um, all right, let's move on. Training montage. All right. Running on the beach or running up mountains, Nick? I know it's more involved than that, but
Yeah, yeah. I- I'm going Rocky 3. As cool as it is seeing him run up mountains and chopping wood and running through snow and everything, and it kind of shows like he's using nature to work out while
Yeah.
Drago's like almost doing like machine like an injections, an unnatural way.
Right.
I think that's pretty cool, but I still got to go Rocky 3. It's more of your classic type montage, but I love it. Him learning shadow boxing and the runs on the beach. You get like that bromance with Apollo. It's very 80s like, but I love it for that. Eye of the Tiger mixed with it works so well, and yeah, I got to go Rocky 3. It's just a great montage.
Yeah. Yeah. I go Rocky 3 as well, for all the same reasons. Again, I do tend to lean toward what's happening to him on the inside and watching him transition, just having to trust somebody new, and watch just getting his rhythm, that scene,
The move.
just getting his rhythm, just watching him be sort of clumsy and then really, really be, on point with it, and I just absolutely love Rocky 3 because the growth is still happening. So the emotional heaviness of the transition is there, where by the time we get to Rocky 3, he's already gone through being afraid. It's like all the Rocky 4 is all the tools he's gained, and now he's bringing it all together and clubbering, Drago with it. But he's still growing in 3, and I feel that growth, the emotional attachment to that growth in that training scene more. But I love your point about the tech and the injections versus, throwing logs around, and running up snowy mountains. Yeah.
You guys surprised me on this one. I thought this was going to be a Rocky 4 cleanup. I'm going Rocky 4 though. When I was a kid, this one just got me really excited.
Yeah.
Rocky 3, out of the classic Rocky movies, Rocky 1, 2, and 3, let's say, I find it's my least favorite. Out of the, but I still like it. I like what Apollo's making him do and all that stuff, and I like the classic music. But
Yes.
there's something about Rocky 4. I really like the score when he's jogging up the mountain and everything. Rocky 4, like, and when I was when I was younger and when I was in shape and I was at the gym all the time, I would put that one where he's running up the mountain on my headphones, and I would put the treadmill like on the biggest incline you could possibly get. I had a personal trainer at the time, and I ran on this thing for like an hour. And one of these, smack talking guys saying, "Oh yeah, I'm this, I'm that," and he's like, he was one of these guys. And he told my trainer, he's like, "Who is that guy?" And at the time I was like 27, 26. And he's like, "Oh, I train him. His name's Jason." He goes, "That dude is fucking destroying that treadmill." And it's very much is that music. Like when I put that music on, I won't stop. Like I'm living vicariously through Rocky, climbing up this, like, and I just picture snow around me, and I just focused. And this training montage just does something to you. It just, I used to run around my house trying to mimic everything he was doing, and this natural training I just love. I absolutely the natural training of this. And I saw someone post on Instagram something about 80s training compared to now, and they got Rocky lifting rocks and running through the snow and all this, and then they got people like rolling balls on themselves and doing yoga and stuff like that. I thought it was funny because I said 80s training, like doing all this really hardcore stuff, and they go training now. I thought it was
totally different. Yeah.
And but I'm gonna show Rocky 4 some love here. So I got Rocky 4. Jeff says Rocky 4 is the greatest training in the franchise. We get 2 separate sequences, and he climbs a mountain. Yep. Jamie says Clubber Lang became an 80s pop sensation with a one-hit wonder called Treat Your Mother Right after his fight with Rocky Balboa. Since then, he's become a yoga instructor in LA. Heath's Bees and Farming. Hearts on Fire is the most motivational scene of all time. A lot of people, Jamie's going with Rocky 4. John is going with Rocky 4 montage. Is my favorite. Great video, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they're both great. I mean,
they're both great.
It's a tough one.
It's but there's also, I will say, there's always a moment before he starts training good, and the beach scene leads into that.
Right.
And Rocky coming back, or Adrian coming back, saying I can't stay away anymore, is actually an underrated scene, I think, because I still think he would have won the fight. It just Adrian really helped that. He wasn't training bad or anything, but he just had that extra motivation.
Yeah, she showed her support.
She showed her support finally, and you know what? And what I tell you, that would be the last time you could see where she's coming from in Rocky 5,
Yeah.
because this is the last time. Like this is, and there's I love it's very nuanced, and I just don't know. I don't know if Stallone directed her to do this, but when they hug, she clenches her fist and she goes like
Yes!
this.
And then
She's
she
doing
hits
that
him.
because she's like she does not want to go through this, and that is so subtle that I don't know if a lot of people pick up on, but that's what makes her character so great. And yes, I'm the Rocky doctor, everyone. Come to me for all your
I
answers.
love that because it's like you want to hug him and slug him at the same time. That's how
That's it. That's
she's
what your wife would
feeling.
do. That's what your
Yes.
wife would do.
No, it's so funny because I have said that. I'm so happy you said that because she's hugging him and hitting him at the same time. Like, you're killing me. Yeah.
I often wonder if that was Talia doing it, or if that was, like Stallone going, clench your fist and do this to me. Yeah, it'd be fascinating to see how they've developed their characters in their as actors. Like, what should I do here? Because by Rocky 4, they've got their characters pretty dialed in. They've been doing this a while since then, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be a fun question for her.
Ooh.
This was actually pretty easy for me. Rocky 4 for sure for me. It's considered one of the best fights ever put on screen. And I know Stallone, suffered severe injuries. They went all out. It's a great fight. I'm going Rocky 4 on here. Like I said, I don't like the score that much, and I actually like the director's cut better because of the sound is better. You see Rocky fighting back a lot more. Rocky 3, I get what they were trying to do. No one could last that long with Apollo. So he did a 3-round fight, and I think it just doesn't have the same feel. I think people like that 15-round battle, and there's a lot of close-ups with their faces. They're talking a lot more. I mean, Stallone hits the guy 70 times in the first round. Like, it's just like, it is over the top. Yeah. And I have a lot of fun when he starts taunting Mr. T, though, and stuff like that, or when Apollo kisses Paulie and or he goes, "What the hell are you doing? What the hell? You don't know what you're doing." And he's like, be more man than him. It gets you really jacked. But I got to go Rocky 4 on this one.
Yeah, I got to go Rocky 4 too. One of my favorite fights in the franchise. It's not only Rocky versus Drago, but it's Rocky versus the whole crowd when he starts, right? Like, everybody's against him, and he has to win the crowd over by lasting so long through his endurance, and he starts getting back, turning the tide, and that just gets me pumped as soon as he starts, getting an edge on Drago. It just pumps me up. It's so good. Mixed with the score, I like the score too, like I mentioned earlier. Going 15 rounds, it's very exciting, and it's a better fight for me. Rocky 3, like I said, you start watching Clubber Lang, and he's never blocking. It's just nonstop head going back. It's just
I'll kill you, man.
Yeah, it's just not as well choreographed, I don't find.
Oh, now I don't know. I say Rocky 3 all the time on so many things. It's just my favorite one in the series.
Right.
What I love about Rocky 3 is that he needed to prove to himself that he was still that good. That in a way that Mickey was wrong. That no, I still can fight a fighter this formidable, So I was just happy for him that he was able to achieve getting over the mountain of fear and physically being able to just do it. Because Jason, as you said, no other villain has broken him the way Clubber Lang did. So for him to be victorious over that is why I love that, and it's more personal for him. But then everything you said about Rocky 4 is so 100% true. It's, it's like 10 out of 10 and 9 out of 10. It's so hard. I love both these fights, but I'm still going to lean Rocky 3.
I think Rocky 4 has a more foreboding fear to it. There's like when they're staring at each other with the sweat beading off them, and Stallone's just staring at him, and Drago looks already like this, and I think it's just cut really well too. It's really edited really well, And something
Yeah.
the director's cut really did well is showing Adrian in the darkness looking on,
Yeah.
and the look she's giving, and there was a lot more there.
Mhm.
But Rocky 3, when it goes slow-mo, he's against the ropes.
Yeah.
You can almost freeze frame it, and it looks like a painting. It is really
Yeah.
beautiful, the
Mhm.
the slow-mo shots, but it's not really one of my favorite fights, Rocky 3, in the whole series. I still think Rocky 2 is the best fight ever in the
Mhm.
franchise, personally.
Mhm.
Um, I just really like that fight. But a lot of people swear that Rocky 4 is the best fight ever. Even Stallone
Right.
is really
Mhm.
proud of this fight because of the work that
Mhm.
went into it. But so yeah, I'll go Rocky 4. You're going Rocky 3, Stacy, then?
I am. I do. I like his sass. I like the way he really taunts taunts him too. I love that those sass. Those sassy comments are fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff says Rocky 3 is the better fight for me, but I love both.
Mhm.
Jeff
There you
loves
go.
Rocky 3. He loves that
Yeah.
movie, man. Rob says Rocky 4. Jamie says Rocky 4 does have an epic fight scene.
Yes.
It does. Um, Heath says Rocky 4 into the last round because it feels anticlimactic. Oh, really?
Hmm.
Never heard that before. And we always know Rocky's going to win the end fight. That's not ever since after the first. I think it's something we know. We just how does he get there though?
Mhm.
Stallone's always done a good job of really making you get invested in the fight.
Right.
Um, One thing that I'll add this to Rocky 4 does really well for me is that one moment where he cuts the Russian, and when he goes
That's what I
back
was
to his
Yeah.
gonna say.
corner,
Yeah.
when he
He's
goes
got
back to his
yes.
corner, he goes, "You see, he's worried. You cut him. You hurt him. He's not a machine." And Duke's spitting in his face. He's a
Yeah.
man.
Yes.
I love that, and that's
Yeah.
one of the that's the stuff I like about the fights. It's not
Mhm.
just the fighting. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's all the emotion that goes with it.
And now he
Um,
he starts going on that Rocky's not human. That guy's not human.
Right. Says the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So true.
Um, I love the first fight with Clover. I hate that Rocky loses, but he looks awesome in the yellow trunks and gloves with the belt, and the way he comes out slugging. Yeah, he's just pissed. He's pissed. He's all anger. Um,
Yeah.
Rob says, "I hope there is more versus shows with you three." I'll do more versus shows. I don't. Stacy's a special guest because Rocky's her thing. Michael says Rocky 2 has best fight and maybe training scene with Mickey yelling again as he does overhead pressing. Oh yeah, faster, faster. I love it. John says Rocky 4 director's cut is the best fight. Yeah, he did. I love the recut fight. I think it's better. I just don't think the end's better though. I think when he gets up,
Visceral.
he starts
Yeah.
going like this. I think it's kind of I don't know. I think it's the thing with that movie. He took out things that I liked, but he added
Yeah.
things I liked. It's kind
Yeah.
of a weird pile of. I think there's a better cut with both of
Mhm.
them put together. To be honest.
Right.
All right. So overall, the best entertainment out of these three or these two. Sorry.
I had to go Rocky 3. Personally, I think this is not the best movie in the franchise, but the most rewatchable for me. It's the one I can put on at any time. The movie just flies by with its pacing. I find like I never see the time in this film. It just
Mhm.
it's you get 3 fights. I mean, the first one with Thunder Lips, Hulk Hogan there, and that's very entertaining. Just seeing him throw him all around the ring into the crowd and everything. So fun to watch. And the other 2 fights are great as well. And yeah, everything from the training montage, the movie just flies right by. Never a dull moment. I'm always invested. And yeah, I'm more entertained by Rocky 3.
And
Mhm.
tells the story it needs to tell.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Mhm.
It hits harder, the emotional moments, everything.
Yes. A complete ditto on everything Nick just said. The Rocky 3, love Rocky 4 too. I mean, it's very entertaining, but Rocky 3 is slightly more attached to a more common human experience in every way. So
Mhm.
I tend to gravitate that way. So I'll say Rocky 3.
Both are pretty entertaining.
Mhm.
Right.
There's a lot of entertainment in both of these, especially the original because you got the robot, and a lot of people like the charm of it and the entertaining value. But Rocky 3, one of the things that makes it more entertaining for me is the Hulk Hogan fight.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, me and my buddy, we used to just rewind this and rewind it and watch it. And to this day, like my youngest son, because they're getting older now, I can't do this as much. But when they were 4 or 5, I would
Yes.
pick them up. I would pick them up and go, "Oh, here we go, baby! Lights out!" And I would slam them down on the couch, and we would act this thing
So
out.
cute.
And I'd go, "Oh, I'm not done with you yet, boy. I'm not done with the meatball." So like that, and then they'd start calling me meatball. Um, but yeah, this is so much fun, and it has to do with Clubber Lang. Um, some '80s movies they got this charm, and they should stay that way because they're
Mhm.
a product of its time, and it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
And the movie is this really entertaining, but has some of the best character moments ever in the franchise.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's one of those things. So yeah, I'm going Rocky 3 as well. Um,
Mhm.
so I'll remove this now because we're done. And I will say, guys, that Rocky 3 cleaned house. Twen-
Yeah.
22-8.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
No, it
Okay.
got smoked. Rocky 4 got smoked, yet people love Rocky 4 more, I usually find.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of
it
rankings.
in a lot of rankings.
Mhm.
It's more in the bottom for me, just because I like the others so much more. But
Mhm.
22-8, everyone. 22-8. I'll post something on my community tomorrow. Give
I
it a
feel
little
like
crown and everything.
nostalgia has a lot to do with Rocky 4 being so high in a lot of people's lists, though.
And I also think Rocky 4's box office did so well because of how
Mhm.
good Rocky 3 was.
That people went
Let's
out to
face
see
it, you're
them.
only as
Yeah.
good as your
Yeah,
last movie.
that's true.
Rocky
That's a
3
great
made a
point.
right, and it's the same thing with it's kind of like, me and Nick are big Friday the 13th fans. Number 5 was so bad, and Jason 6 didn't do that well because people just lost their investment. I
Hmm.
think that's
Mhm.
a big reason. I think when you have a great movie and you follow it up with another good one,
Mhm.
it does better in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Interesting,
Look
yeah.
at Aliens to Alien. Alien was so good. Well, let's see what the James Cameron does. Um, so I think Rocky 4, that's a personal opinion. I think
Mhm.
its box office success is partly due to how good Rocky 3 was.
Right.
So if I'm not mistaken, Rocky 4 only won one category, right? The end fight?
Um, let me run it down here.
I'm pretty
2 to
sure.
1. Um, so the title scroll, Rocky 3, 2 to 1. The plot, Rocky 3, it won 3-0. Acting, 2 to 1, Rocky 3. Music, Rocky 4, 2 to 1.
Oh, so
It
it
won
won
that.
2.
The song, Rocky 3 won. It won the most impactful death. It won
Mm.
villain. It won training montage. That's the one that surprised me. It won fight, 2 to 1. And Rocky 3 won entertainment.
Okay, so
But you guys will have to let me know if you're watching after the fact in the comments below, what you think of all this. And if you guys have time, I'll just open it up to the chat to do a Q&A. Stacy doesn't come on very often, so if you guys got Rocky questions or anything about her podcast, I guess I'll start with you, Nick. Just where people can find you and what you do on your channel.
yeah, you can find me at the Movie Ranker on YouTube. Yeah, it's just plain and simple like that. I just rank movies. I rank
Nice.
franchises or take a
Yeah.
director and rank all of his movies or whatnot. And yeah, I usually have new content every week.
You got anything coming up?
Yes, this week I should have my Aliens ranking out, all 8
Oh,
movies.
nice.
So
Nice.
Nice. Stacy, I mean, your podcast is amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
I can't wait to come on one day. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and so just tell everyone what you do over there,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
her podcast is in the description below too. It should be anyway, guys. If it's not, I'll put it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And what you really do, and because you
Mhm.
guys, have a really passionate podcast, and yeah, so take the floor.
Yeah, so, I approached Mike after he had attempted a prior, podcast that sort of, he and that gentleman sort of had a difference of opinion on which way it should go. he really wanted to keep it Rocky centric. And so after I saw that sort of fall apart, I approached Mike and I said to him, we can keep it Rocky centric. That's not a problem. And additionally, I wanted to make it specifically, and it is very niche, like you said, I wanted to make it specifically about Rocky fans because we already know the Rocky stories. We're all inspired by the Rocky stories, but there's so many fans out there over 3 generations who have done these equally inspiring things. And we have these folks on that have, they're survivors of cancer. They've started businesses. They've lost family members when they were very young. So we want to celebrate the fans of the Rocky series and their stories and how they've inspired their family and friends, but also to give them a way to, share their story, and additionally to say thank you to Stallone for the Rocky series and how much it's meant to them. So our little tagline is for fans, about fans, by fans. So yeah, that's what we do over there. And I'm grateful for Mike's time because he is our bridge to Rocky. He's our bridge to Sly. And so we fortunately have him. Every once in a while when we have a question, Mike will throw it off to Sly and he'll answer it for us. So whenever that happens, we're like,
Yeah, that was amazing when you had Stallone
Yeah.
on there.
Yes.
It's like he was talking to us. He was talking
Right?
to all the fans, and it was just, and it inspired me to do a video. I didn't get to do it though, but Rocky has always felt like the closest friend I've ever had who I've never
Yeah.
met.
Mhm.
I don't know if I heard someone say that too. They might have, but let's just say that I didn't come up with this, but I could just remember every time I watch this movie, it doesn't feel like a movie
Mhm.
because they're spending so much time with him walking everywhere and getting to know him, and he's just felt like this imaginary friend, almost like, whenever you put yourself in a situation, even personal stuff that's happened to me, which I will save for the first time whenever I come on, Stacy, because
Sure.
I got a lot of things to say. But
Sure.
yeah, I could relate this to this character
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
much. Even when I'm feeling down and out, even if I haven't done a good review, I'm not
Mhm.
feeling good about myself. I'm like, well, the next steps forward. You have to keep punching. You have to keep, you know, doing it in every aspect of your life. And
Mhm.
when I watched Rocky Balboa, when he gives that speech to his son, it was like my dad talking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
what are you going to do for yourself? You just, I remember when I was in my young 20s and saying stuff like that. And
Mhm.
that speech is so true. It's so true. No one's going to help you but you. Kind of like over the top. No one's going to meet you halfway. He was kind
Right.
of tapping in the same thing. But yeah, I just absolutely love this character. And
Mhm.
when Stallone was talking about some of the regrets of some of the movies and what he'd like to do, and it's really unfortunate that he's got to battle so hard just to get rights.
Yeah.
I
It's
just
ridiculous.
I think they should. I think this series falls apart without him, and you're gonna find that if they try to do something without him, how quickly it's gonna fall.
Right.
Um, I think personally, like,
Mhm.
and yeah, this it means seeing your guest talk. I mean, I got so many episodes to catch up on, but seeing them talk about their goals and how this franchise has affected them,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. There's great stories, so you guys definitely got to check out Stacy's podcast
Thank
for
you.
sure. Um, and Mike too. Those who don't know who Mike is, Mike's um he runs Philly tours in Philly.
Mhm.
He goes through all the Rocky locations and everything, and
Mhm.
um he's what's the word? He's not a impersonator. He keeps the Rocky spirit alive.
Yeah, he does.
Right? And he knows things
Yeah.
that you just he knows things that you just don't. They're coming from Sly's conversations he had, so
Yeah.
he knows a lot of the ins and outs. Like when I found out that they originally the end fight of Rocky 1 was supposed to be Purple Haze. That's what was supposed to be
Yeah.
playing. I've never even heard of that information before,
Right. Right.
uh, personally. But yeah, he
Interesting.
on the old channel. I had both Mike and Stacy on, and I said something about Rocky Rambo 2, and he got kind of upset with me.
That was a funny. That was a funny moment.
He says, "What are you talking about? Rambo
What are
2
you
was amazing."
Yeah, you weren't a fan. That was
I
so
know I
funny.
didn't say it was bad. I just said it's my least favorite. It was
It
like
was
putting arrows at my head.
Yeah. No, that I
Yeah.
remember that moment. No, yeah, Cy has called him the greatest Rocky interpreter of all time, which is such a
That's it.
massive compliment
Yeah.
for Mike, and he's wonderful. He does the tours, and he does do impersonation gigs though. He does that in the evenings, so he does both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great stuff. I mean, there's so many franchises people talk about, and Rocky's just not the one people talk about.
Mhm.
It's I could tell you that some reviews are really tough for me. I'm tripping over
Mhm.
my tongue, but whenever I've done a Rocky review, I can pretty much just put the camera on and start talking.
Right.
It's
So
very
easy.
easy. It's a
Mhm.
very easy franchise to talk for
About,
me.
right. Mhm.
Right? Even if it's it's so easy to talk about. It tends to be you can talk about the moments, you can talk about the heart of it all, and
Mhm.
it's gonna last forever because of the just the heart of it. And
Yes.
it's one of the few characters that I just can't see anybody else playing.
Right.
It's very because that's one thing he said on Stacy's podcast is that he's very much Rocky's very much a part of him. It's very much
Oh
Sly
yeah.
in that character in a lot of ways. So, when they were when originally, they had like people like Al Pacino they wanted to play, which I'm not saying they would have done a bad job. Actually Al Pacino I could actually see playing something like that, but it would not have been the same. It's something that was
Perfect.
everything this came together, and there's movies that happens, right?
Mhm.
Michael says, how would Balboa versus Lang 1 have been very different if Mickey doesn't go down? Predictions, rounds, winner, KO, or decision. When Rocky was in his prime. Well, if Mickey would have lived and that fight happened, he still would have lost.
Yeah, because it happened.
Mickey dying was just it was clouding him, but he was still taking. But Rocky 2, I still think Clover would have been a great adversary because he's stronger than Rocky.
Mhm.
He's stronger, and I don't think Rocky could have punched his way out of him. He had to learn a different style.
Right.
The
Yeah.
Rocky style too would not have worked against Clever Lang.
Mm.
Like Clever Lang would have knocked Apollo out. Like this guy
Yeah.
was deadly. This guy was he wasn't fooling around. He was out to kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was Mickey's point. He'll kill you to death.
Yeah. Hey Matt, what's going on? Fachi Cinemas absolutely love me some Rocky 4. What's up, Pete? Rocky 4 got hammered 22-8. You can go tell you can go tell Lee that because I know Drum Dums is a huge Rocky 4 fan. He actually tells a story that when he saw it in the theater after the fight, everyone stood up and just applauded. Like so, Drum Dums loves Rocky 4. Absolutely loves it. It's a good movie, man. That's what I mean. The whole franchise is riddled with good movies.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just awesome stuff. And there's so many movies that are inspired by Rocky. I find too,
Mhm.
like Karate Kid. Same director. Adds a lot of makes the karate thing popular and has a little bit of. It's different. It's a bit different narrative, but it's kind of got the same heart to it.
Yeah.
Right. It's where you start to see sports movies focus more on the characters and their flaws and stuff instead of the sports itself, right?
Did any of you see Ford versus Ferrari?
Yes. Yeah.
It's the only movie I've seen. That got me the same feeling after I watched Rocky.
Oh, that's
right. I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense, but something happens in the race. I don't want to spoil it, but at the end, something happens in the race that's this made me think of Rocky, and I got the same emotion. I was like, it's kind of about the race, not so much about the outcome. So, look, I think you'll really like it, Stacy. I honestly think you'll really like it.
You mentioned it to me, and I haven't watched it yet. I will.
Mike says Rocky at the end of 3 versus Rocky from part 4. Oh, Rocky from part 4. I mean, he's got so much more experience.
Mhm.
Because you got to allude that he's had some fights since then. Like he just didn't retire and never fought again.
Mhm.
I think Mike actually told me that too, Stacy, that originally they were gonna have Rocky have some fights. Like he had a couple more fights since Clover, so
Right.
just never made the movie, I think.
Right.
Stallone coming off of First Blood Part 2, he was so jacked for
Oh
when he
yeah,
went to do Rocky 4.
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, for sure. But yeah, you'll see a lot of like I was saying, like movies inspired from Rocky. Kind of like I remember watching Mystery Alaska, and they says it's hockey with Rocky.
Like you said, it's a relatable character, and the themes are timeless. So
Mhm.
Um, we'll go for about another 5 minutes or so, everyone. If you got any questions, just pop them in the chat, and yeah, we'll talk some more Rocky. Mike says, "Do we assume Rocky was 37 in part 4?" Yeah, the timeline gets kind of weird, but
Yeah.
let me go by memory. He was 30 in Rocky 1, so he had to be 31 in Rocky 2. 3 years later, he was 34 in Rocky 3.
Mhm.
I think he was around 36, 37 in part 4. That would have made Apollo almost 40, because Apollo is older than Rocky.
Mhm.
That's I don't know how much older, but he was older than Rocky. So yeah, you can assume that. I mean, his kid kind of grows up really fast. There's some continuity there
Yeah.
um that's kind of messy, but that's
They
that's
just took
it
it
is
they
what
took advantage of real time for that
yeah,
role,
yeah.
and that we'd forget that it was actually, like the same exact time frame.
Do you think we'll ever get another Rocky? Like another sequel to like I know he has a story brewing about that he'd like to do another or like a Rocky 7.
I think
And I
it
know
is being talked about. I don't know if it's greenlit or not, but I know it is being discussed as a possibility, but I have no idea where it is in the approval process. Mike, that's probably a better question for Mike than for me.
yeah. Um
be interesting with his age.
Mm.
yeah, I don't think it's a kind of a him I think he's teaching a boxer.
Yeah, he's
Like
training
kind of
him.
like he did with
Yeah.
Creed, but I think it's a completely different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a completely different thing. Um I don't mind the where they left Creed too, where he visits his son and
Mm.
he's with his son and everything again, but I don't ever see Rocky staying out of Philadelphia very long.
Right.
Like I think Philadelphia's part of it. I don't see him being away from Adrian's grave
Right.
like that. Like I think
Mhm.
he's visiting, maybe a long visit, but like maybe a year or something. But
Mhm.
I think he'd come back. Um, I was telling Stacy like I think they should do a Cobra Kai of Rocky, where Rocky runs a gym, another guy runs another gym, and there's
Mhm.
him working with children and children
Mhm.
boxing. I think that would be a really great way to take Rocky. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but seems to work for Cobra Kai. So why
Well, I
not?
was
Right.
gonna say that formula works. We know that. So,
Mhm.
Right. Um, so yeah, I think that's a thing they could definitely entertain. And with Balboa Productions and Amazon Prime, Amazon I think owns it now. Prime or
owns MGM, yeah. Mhm.
MGM I think owns it. So I would like to see another. I would like to see another one. Although I'm still satisfied with what he did. Rocky Balboa is the definite ending for me.
Right.
Him disappearing and saying, Adrian, we did it.
Yeah.
That's um. So Mike says Cobra Kai Rocky is a great idea. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think so. I was going to do a video on it, on my little pitch on it. I just got to flesh more ideas out, but yeah. Rob says, "Do you like Sly's idea for Seven being outside the ring?" Yes, I do, because it was never about boxing, Rocky.
Mm.
It's about the character. Like Sly says, it's never been plot driven. It's been character driven.
Mhm.
Always has been. And Rocky's not a plot driven story. It's a character driven story.
Right.
It's a character study, and it's as long as you have him playing him, um, I mean, I heard the musical was really good. I heard the Rocky musical was
Yes.
quite good. Never got a
Yeah.
chance to see it when it was back in the day, but um, and it looks like Sly's pretty busy with this Tulsa King now too. So I know they're doing a
Right.
season 2, and I watched the family show he did,
Yeah.
and apparently he was that Tulsa King took him away from his family for quite
Yeah.
some time. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what the future of Sly is really. I'm really curious to what he's going to be producing though outside of with this Balboa Productions. I'd really like to. I'm curious what kind of content he's going to put out.
Yeah. Well, he's not one to. I don't think he's ever going to retire. He's just he can't sit still. I don't believe he will ever
Yeah,
stop.
I don't think so either. And I think he's clearly getting older, where he's
Mhm.
he can't be doing these high octane action movies like he did. But um, it's Expendables 4. I think he's going to be in it a bit, but I don't know. I don't got a lot of faith in that movie. It does
Hmm.
not look good to me.
Yeah.
But is it that one looks like he's passing the torch kind of too. So
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like to me. But we'll find out. We'll find out. But yeah, it's good stuff.
I plan on hopefully ranking all the Rockies with the Creeds in November, because then I shouldn't be busy.
Yeah,
It's gonna be busy for a while coming up. So
I'm gonna be picking up my Rocky reviews again in November.
Nice.
I'm gonna
seems like
finish
a good time.
I gotta finish Rocky Balboa and then the Creed movies. I've done Rocky 1 to 5 already. And yeah, and then I'm doing the big top 50 Rocky moments
Yeah.
in November. On November 21st that's when the movie was released originally,
Mhm.
1976. And we need a box set. I can't believe they have not done a box set with all the deleted stuff, everything. Like there's
So much. Yeah.
Jeff in the chat here. He apparently Rocky 3 has so much deleted stuff that there's like
Yeah, because I think my
Yeah.
set's very basic. My collection set.
yeah, they need what they did with Rambo with the steel books.
Yeah.
They need
Mhm.
they need a Rocky one. Man, do they with all the trimmings though. All the trimmings. I mean, I bought the Rocky the 4 video box set because it came with the director's cut of
Mhm.
Rocky 4 because I had to have it on physical media. I'm like, I gotta have this movie on physical media, and so I bought that, and I got so many freaking Rocky things everywhere. But Stacy's painting in the back's awesome.
Oh,
Rocky 3
Mhm.
painting, I love it. So yeah, I like
Very
that.
cool.
It's very cool.
thanks.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that ranking deck because everyone falls
Mhm.
different falls
Exactly.
differently on these movies. These movies,
Mhm.
everyone falls different on them. I mean, I've often stated that Rocky 1 is my favorite film of all time. It's never changed. That's one thing I don't think will ever change. And it's just because of that. It's because of that connection I have with the character. I mean, I used to take the VHS tape and I used to put it in my backpack and take it with me and look at it on my lunch and just read it and look at it. And I guess I was a weird one. I just love I love the movie so much. Even as a kid, I liked Rocky 1. I just whenever
Mhm.
if I'd stay home for I was sick, I'd put Rocky 1 on first, and obviously I'd go through the franchise. At that time, it was only like 4 movies, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Like comfort food.
it is. Yeah. All right, everyone. I'm gonna say good night. That's a wrap on this show. I want to thank you, Stacy and Nick, for coming on to help
Thank
me out with
you.
this.
Yeah. Thanks
It's
for having me.
always it's almost so much more fun with people. So thing going with the point system and everything. But yeah, I'll try and do this again, guys, with maybe I'll put a poll out for 2 movies you want to see face off against each other. I might
Yeah.
usually depending on the movie is how I determine my guests. So I knew Nick was a big Rocky 3 fan, and Stacy runs her own Rocky podcast, so she had to be on
Mhm.
for it.
Thanks.
The last time I went through the franchise, it was my number 2, Rocky 3. So
yeah,
we'll see.
maybe we'll do a Rocky trivia one time. We'll get 2 teams of like 3 or 4 people.
Oh, that'd be
And
fun.
Mike's not allowed because he'll kill us.
Yeah.
He should be part of moderating.
Yeah.
The ultimate moderator.
He'd be like, "Can I phone a friend?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be texting me.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny. But yeah, so if you guys couldn't be a part of this, you want to rewatch it, I really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. Check their channels out. Stacy goes live every Thursday and with a new guest. So they're a lot of fun to watch. So definitely check these people out. And I say goodnight to you guys, and be good to each other. Be good.
Yes.
And keep on punching.
Keep punching.